Welcome to The Explainer. So look, we live in a world that is just constantly moving. Our days tend to blur together into this massive, fast-paced stream of emails, running errands, quick conversations, endless scrolling, and honestly, it can be absolutely exhausting. And when we actually try to sit down and process all of it, we usually just end up feeling even more overwhelmed. But what if we didn't actually have to process all of it? What if we could just cut right through that daily blur? Well, today, we're diving into a highly targeted, hyper-focused mindfulness technique designed to do exactly that. It's called Captured Moments Journaling. And trust me on this one, it is absolutely going to change the way you look at a simple pen and paper.
I mean, think about it. Ever sat down with a journal, stared at a totally blank page, and just been hit with a massive wave of decision fatigue? You're sitting there thinking, okay, where do I even start? I woke up, I had my coffee, traffic was absolutely brutal, I answered like 30 emails, I ate a slightly stale turkey sandwich. It's exhausting just thinking about it. This rapid-fire documenting of literally every mundane detail turns what is supposed to be this really freeing, cathartic exercise into just a tedious chore. You're basically trying to keep up with the overwhelming speed of your own life, listing everything out chronologically, and frankly, it just feels like more work. You aren't uncovering any deep truths. You're essentially just writing out a giant receipt of your day.
Right, so that's exactly the problem. But it also points us straight to the solution. On one hand, we've got standard journaling, this tedious chronological list of daily events that, let's be real, really just logs your routine. But on the other hand, we have the pivot, a captured moment. Instead of the exhausting chore of listing out your whole entire day, you're seeking out the simple, incredibly powerful relief of capturing just one single snapshot of your soul. You are looking for one single, vivid emotional spike. It's kind of the difference between trying to photograph an entire marathon versus taking just one stunning, high-definition macro shot of a runner crossing the finish line. So let's officially define what we're talking about here. Captured Moments Journaling is this highly targeted journaling method that asks you to select a single meaningful moment from your day and describe it with vivid sensory detail and raw emotion. That's it, just one moment. You filter out all that other noise. You really don't need to write about the commute or that stale sandwich, unless, of course, that commute or that sandwich made you feel something profound. You just choose one meaningful moment. Maybe it was a moment of deep connection. Maybe it was a sudden spark of anger, or even just a wave of unexpected peace. And you isolate it. You zoom all the way in, and you focus strictly on that. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but how do I actually grab onto one of these moments before it totally slips away? Well, this is where the AWE or AWE practice comes in. This is the actual physical mechanism used to drop into the present moment so you can genuinely notice the beauty or meaning happening around you. Step 1 is attention. You focus fully on something, completely without judgment. Just engage your senses and notice it. Step 2 is wait. Once you've focused your attention, you just pause. You inhale naturally and let the experience fill you in complete stillness. And then step 3 is exhale. As you let that breath out, you just let yourself soften and open up. This whole process literally takes the length of a single breath, but it creates the space where a true captured moment can just arise naturally. And once you actually have that moment, you bring it to the page. But to do that effectively, you need vivid sensory detail. You're not just writing, I was mad, or I was sad. No, you're anchoring the emotion physically onto the page. You write about the sharp chill of the steering wheel beneath your hands. You write about the sharp, hot sting of an offhand comment from a coworker. You describe your actual physical sensations, the tightness gripping your chest, the sudden heat flushing in your face, the heavy sinking feeling in your limbs. You're deliberately using this evocative, heavy sensory language to make the moment completely tangible.
And there's actually some really profound psychology behind why we do this. Consider this phrase: when you name something, you contain it. Let that sink in for just a second. When you name something, you contain it. See, when you've got this swirling, chaotic storm of raw emotion inside of you, it feels completely unmanageable, right? But the actual act of describing it, of putting really specific words to the heat in your face or the tightness in your chest, it puts distance between you and the emotion. You're shrinking that chaos down into something you can actually hold in your hands. You literally contain it on the page.
But containing the emotion is really just the beginning. Now we transition into processing it safely. And there's a fantastic tool for this called Radar, R-A-D-A-R. This is what bridges the gap between experiencing that raw emotion and actually processing it. First up, reflect. You just pause, you observe your internal state without trying to change or control it. What event just occurred? What are you feeling right now?
Next is describe. This is exactly what we just talked about, putting those feelings and thoughts into specific, neutral language to label the emotions without any judgment. And finally, respond. Once you've reflected and described, you can then commit to purposeful change. You align your very next action with your goals and your values rather than just reacting blindly in the heat of the moment.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is making a major mental shift. We're moving from being swept away to practicing non-attachment. Being swept away, that is that exhausting feeling of allowing your emotions to just completely dictate your behavior. It's when you let the anger or the anxiety grab the steering wheel. But not attachment, which is also known as non-identification, is the ultimate liberation of stepping back. It's observing your own emotions as if they're just temporary visitors. You can feel them fully, vividly, but you absolutely do not let them define you or drive your behavior. You just loosen your grip.
And that really brings us to the philosophical core of this entire concept. Emotions are real, but they are not you. Think of your emotions as winds that just blow through you. They are meaningful, yes. They are powerful, absolutely. But they pass. They are indicators of your internal state, for sure, but they are not dictators of your identity. When you use captured moments journaling, you're essentially giving those winds a place to blow through, a place to be recorded and acknowledged without ever letting them knock you over.
So why does all of this matter so much? Well, because this strict focus on one single moment gives you a massive psychological payoff. By intentionally filtering out the endless daily noise, the traffic, the mundane tasks, the never-ending to-do lists, you uncover what is actually hiding underneath all of it. You isolate and understand your core values, you discover what truly triggers you, what brings you deep, genuine joy, and what your deepest needs actually are. By focusing strictly on the micro, you gain incredible, life-changing clarity on the macro.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one very direct question. What single moment will you capture today? You don't need to write a novel tonight. You definitely don't need to document your whole schedule. Just find one moment. Pay attention, pause, and exhale. Feel those physical sensations. Name them to contain them. Grab a pen, step back from the chaos, and just capture it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I highly, highly encourage you to put this into practice right now. Catch you next time.